Hi, and good evening, everyone. My name is Albert, and this is Vlogs About Nothing. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your very busy Friday night. I hope that you're all out having the time of your lives. Also, I hope that you find some time in your evening to sit back, relax, and enjoy, my video for tonight. Tonight, I want to talk about tips. And yeah, as any American would tell you, it's that very thing that is required in any part of the service industry that literally determines and is the sole dictator of how you are treated. So I just, want to explain that, some of my rationale behind it, and why I feel like it's not just a boomer saying, you get what you pay for in life. And so far as any part of the service industry is concerned, as least as it's concerning Americans, because just a friendly reminder, we are one of the only developed nations on this entire planet that makes our workers work for tips. You guys do not want to know the history of tips, okay? But in case you do, I encourage you to use your cool fingers there, your fingertips, and definitely search all of these things up for yourself. You'll find that tips in and of themselves does not come from a good place. And in fact, it comes from one of the darkest places in all of human history without question. So, again, just with all of those things being said, I encourage you to look for it yourself. Also, for the record, and we're a minute and a half into the video, so I'm not actually cursing in this. And again, I'm not actually condoning any of these things. I'm just saying that I would not Google blue waffle. I'm just saying I wouldn't do it because I'm not sure, I eat waffles all the time and I'm not going there. I eat waffles. Anyways, don't Google that either. But if you feel like Googling it, definitely do that. But nonetheless, tips come from a very bad place, okay? So, that being said, let's try to focus on some fundamental positives here. Knowing that we're trying to get something positive from something that's already so inherently misleading. I mean, after all, America is, the big boy on the block, right? As so far as our economy is concerned and the influence that we have, and yet we don't really treat the people that live here and that are citizens and constituents, much less the world over, anyone else. I'm not saying, right? Beggars can't be choosers. And so I'm just saying that, anyways, all right, I'm done with that. So let's talk about tips. So, did you guys know that to ensure proper service is literally what a tip is, right? Or tips to ensure proper service. And so that's where that etymology, comes from. I mean, it's not where it comes from, but that's what it is. That's literally what it is. And it's an acronym. And then there might be some debate on this, but again, do your own research. I can't do everything for you, although I would love to do as much as I can, which is why I try to make these videos. So, anyways, tips, I feel like it's not just restaurant work. Obviously, that's a big part of it, but it's any service work. I mean, you don't have to necessarily think about anything other than whether or not another human being is servicing your needs. That in and of itself would imply a tip. I mean, that's just a capitalist friendly thing to do if you want to keep business moving. Money must flow. For those of you that can think like that for some reason hoarding money and keeping it and trying to get interest rates on 0.64%, good luck with that. I'm just saying that the world is not for that, right? For all the old school capitalists out there and stuff, for all of the smart ones out there and everything. And again, it's just money makes things move. That's literally the whole intent of all this grand experiment. So, it's important to have these things in mind, so far as it's like, if somebody's changing your tire, I think about tipping them. If somebody does like clean your hotel room, think about tipping them. And I know it sucks sometimes because we have to subsidize what otherwise should be well-paying wages from employers, but there's a little socialist in all of us, isn't there? That's just called having a conscience and understanding that there's a bitter divide there, right? Between what we expect from service workers and what we know to be true and let it be okay and slide so far as it concerns the majority of their employers. large corporations, and shout out to small businesses, restaurants namely, who go out of their way to employ local people, pay them a livable wage on top of tips, right? Because again, studies have been shown. Again, I encourage the research that there are different states all over the country where just a few more dollars in wages means a whole lot for low income workers. Again, service industry work isn't curtailed or specifically geared towards folks with money. I mean, other than the finance industry, and they service nothing but magical numbers, right? So that's, the kind of numbers they play are, it's like fictional accounting. It doesn't make sense. It's not supposed to make sense. All that we need to be concerned about is moving money. And when we give people more money, they spend it, especially if they don't have a lot of it. Because again, those that don't have a lot of it and spend all of it all the time understand more importantly than anyone that it's, a necessary thing to do. And while it's nice to gain interest and try to do shady things like collapse the stock market in 2008, shout out to all the major banks out there who, in knowing, absolutely would be responsible for carrying or underwriting certain high risk notes that they knew were going to be a problem and create a bubble and collapse, and a little bit socialist to save big companies. I think when the government has to intervene and save big Lehman Brothers and JP Morgan, I mean, I think that's kind of anti-capitalist. I thought capitalism was Darwinian, I thought it was survival of the fittest, but that's just not the way that it is. And so, cool things that I've been tipped in my life as a service industry worker. And again, I may think about this too much, but I think about everything too much. So this is just absolutely normal for me. But like, what I find most interesting is that oftentimes other service industry workers, we know the struggle. So even though we don't have a lot of money, we end up tipping the most. And maybe delivery drivers out there can understand this the most, because I'm sure you've delivered a DoorDash order to a $300,000 house, and the people were so kind as to drop you $4 or $5. I mean, again, it's just an example of why people are rich to begin with. They don't spend their money. And while we all find that laughable and kind of ironic, I think the more ironic thing is that they literally don't spend their money. So I don't think that makes them a good person per se, right? Because they're not participating in this good old grand game that we got going on. And if you're not participating, just like if you're in the kitchen and you can't take the heat, you got to go somewhere else. You know what I mean? Because the truth is ultimately what is absolute and runs reality. I mean, sorry, folks, all the liars, haters, and cheaters out there. The truth is kind of, what makes things go around, even if you don't want it to. And so these are things that we all have to keep in mind. I feel like when we're out in the world and we're interacting with other human beings, like, I mean, you have a life, you eat food, you have struggles, you have bills to pay, you choose to spend a small part of your day in another person's call so that you can help make them money, all while you get a little bit of that money. And most of the time it's not enough money, so we sometimes end up being real grouches, out there when we're working in the service industry, because it's these very little things that I don't feel like a lot of people think about, because most people have the luxury of working behind a desk or working for Uncle Sam in some truck doing surveys for God knows what, to do nothing for 30 years. I mean, there's different kinds of careers, and a lot of these conversations we have are unfortunately not tailored to white collar people who are well to do and don't really understand what it's like to have to deal with other people in a way that is absolutely contingent on your living. You got a bad day at work and someone makes you mad, you get fired, you have no check, you can't pay rent, that's a problem for you. We don't have the luxury of sitting in an office for 9 hours, 40 hours a week, kind of excluding everyone else out in the world. And I mean, that sounds awfully nice. We don't have to essentially beg people for money again, but that's not really it. We don't beg people for money here in America. That's not how tips work. I feel like ultimately it's the kind of person that you are, the kind of attitude that you have again. And I point to the fact that, ironically, there is a little bit of socialist in all of us, because that's just something I think we all understand, even when we reluctantly understand that. I mean, don't be the person at a restaurant that doesn't tip. Don't be the person that doesn't tip your delivery driver. Even if you have no money to tip them, that's okay. Throw them, a sandwich. I mean, if all you got's a bologna sandwich and somebody's bringing you food still, I mean, the least that you can do is wrap one up in some foil and hand it to them, because that is a gesture. That means that you're thinking about that person and that you appreciate what they've done for you. And last time I checked, those things cost money. And so, the little things. Always think about the little things. People have tipped me all the different kinds of things. I didn't even really talk about that because we went off on a different sidebar. But people have tipped me burned CDs. They've tipped me food. I mean, again, it's the thought that counts. And if you guys are one of those people that like leave snacks outside your door for people that, bring food to your house and stuff, I applaud you. You are a good person. Again, because you never know. You don't know what it's like. You're delivering food, you've been delivering food, no one's tipping you, and you happen to get one good tip for a whole shift, and someone drops you a apple juice box. You'd be surprised at how happy that can make another grown adult feel. So, think about these things. And so I encourage you to be nice to people. We can be nice capitalists, and never forget that there's a little bit of socialist in all of you. And if there's not, you really need to think about some stuff, because you're the kind of people that nobody likes. And I mean, it's cool, right? Nobody likes you. You have all the money. Oh, yeah, real good to you. Well, I mean, I guess that's your experience. I don't want to be that guy. But to each his own. I hope that you guys have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for, tuning into my show. And if you're not already, smash the subscribe button. I really do appreciate it. It helps the channel out a bunch. And my name is Albert. This is Vlogs About Nothing. You guys have a really good night. Thank you again, and we'll see everyone tomorrow. Bye.